Hello and welcome to the Tough Cover Podcast with your host, Mark Henry Jr. And I got a special guest coming off a weekend of March Madness. We're going to be talking some baseball, switching gears a little bit. Got my man Dylan from the Daily Dose Podcast. How you doing, Dylan?
What's going on, man? So the Daily Dose just went off the rails. I had a lot of topics to get to. We were supposed to talk the first weekend of that tournament. Didn't get to any of it. Not a single game, not a single upset, nothing. Full Sixers talk. So looking forward to switching it up a little bit and talking some Phillies and futures here.
Hell yeah, we're going to get it started talking about MLB, doing our first MLB preview. I'm going to be previewing the MLB all week. And I figured this is the Painted Lines. You guys are here for Philly content, so we should start it all off with some Philadelphia Phillies baseball talk. But the Painted Lines is now sponsored by XL Media, and we have a word brought to you by our sponsors.
Hey, what's up, guys? March Madness is here. The NBA and NHL are both in full swing. Baseball opening day is coming up, while we here at the Painted Lines are devoted to bringing you top-notch content from all the major sports. We are excited to also now give you the opportunity to cash in on all that content and knowledge. If you follow the link below, you will have the opportunity to sign up with BetRivers, an online sportsbook, and get an instant new user deposit match of up to $250. That's free money that you can use and try to turn into more free money. Let's go. Don't sit there and waste all that money. Turn every basket into an otherwise meaningless Cavs-Timberwolves matchup on a random Wednesday in March. That makes it all the more exciting. For betting tips and advice, be sure to check out written content from our top prognosticator, Money Max, on our website at thepaintedlines.com, or check out the Tough Cover Podcast right here on the Painted Lines YouTube channel. You've seen the commercials all over TV and radio, but now is the time. Sign up today with BetRivers using the link below and start cashing in on your love for sports. Using the link below will automatically inform BetRivers that TPL sent you, and you'll get that new user deposit match of up to $250. Don't miss out on this opportunity for some free money, baby.
Check that out, folks. The link is in the description. Everybody go check it out, and it'll let BetRivers know that the Painted Lines sent you. So before we get into my baseball futures and talking to Dylan about our expectations for the Phillies this season, I'll just get it out in front of the show. Had a hell of a day yesterday. We went 5-2. We gained 7.5 units. We gained back what we lost the day before. Had a tough Sunday. Made it up on Monday. So I only have 3 plays tonight. Just going to give it out real quick at the top of the show, and I'll probably repeat it at the back end. But I got Wizards plus 2.5 at the New York Knicks, rocking with the Wizards shirt. Got John Wall on the back. He's not there anymore, but he's too busy losing 20 in a row in Houston. But I got Wizards plus 2.5 at New York. I think that New York's shown with their offense. It's just extremely limited. They muck up games. They do give tough games to tough. Like they gave us 2 tough games in the span of a week, but they lost both. They seem to be very bad in the fourth quarter. And the Wizards are actually playing way better basketball as of late. Russell Westbrook, people don't want to talk about it, but Russell Westbrook's kind of back to playing pretty good basketball. He's 28, 9, and 12 in March on 49, 40, 61. He's still terrible at the free throw line, but Russ is playing better, which is letting Bradley Beal be more efficient. But my favorite play of the game day is also from that game, but I do have Wizards plus 2.5 for 2 units. My favorite play of the day, though, is first half under 57.5. Knicks team total. The Knicks have not scored 58 plus in the last 6 games, and they've only done it once in their last 10. And then Marky Late Night has a parlay. Blazers, Sixers, moneyline parlay plus 170. Blazers are playing the Nets. This is just honestly, this is a homer parlay. If the Blazers beat the Nets, it helps us. If we beat the Warriors, it helps us. Creates that gap, makes it bigger. Harden, Kyrie, KD, all out tonight. It's Dame time. I think he steps up and beats the bench of the Brooklyn Nets, and I think we step up and beat the bench of the Golden State Warriors. You have any takes on any of that, Dylan?
I love the last 2. I do. I love this plus 170, especially for the Blazers Sixers parlay. I love the Knicks to score under 57.5 in the first half. The first one, I don't know. The Knicks are a tough team to read, man. They really are. Like, to your point with that bet, I guess, like, yeah, they fall apart in the fourth quarter, especially against us. but they are at least competing with the Nets and the Sixers of the world. So that's going to be a tough one. But hey, I like it, and you're right. You know, a lot of people are down on Russell Westbrook, and I get why. But he has been playing better basketball, and like you said, that allows for Bradley Beal to play more freely, not have to try to force things, not try to have to carry the offense.
For sure. No, I for sure agree. They're only like, people don't want to talk about it. They're only like 2.5 games out of that play-in game, since I think 7 plays 10, 8 plays 9. Especially now with Charlotte losing LaMelo, they took a big hit at the back end of that East trying to make the playoffs. So the door's wide open for either of these teams, the Knicks or the Wizards, to make a run and to make the playoffs.
By the way, I hate that.
I hate it too.
The play-in, what is that, dude?
I hate it. I completely hate it.
Now the 10 seed gets a chance?
Yeah, it's crazy. For years I've argued for the base. We'll switch gears to baseball. It's actually a good segue. For years I've argued for the wild card game in baseball. For some reason, it feels more important than the rest of the playoffs. I don't know what that is, but
it's the win or go home factor for it.
Yeah, unless there's like a game 5 or a game 7, it's the most intense game. I remember last year there was like 2 good games in the wild card round. Or no, that was 2 years ago. Last year there wasn't a wild card round. 2 years ago, they were both good games in the wild card round. So I just think that works. They tried to translate it to basketball. It's not working, because now it's going to be like what? The Wizards as a 10 seed, or the Bulls.
Right, and then in the West, it's what? The Grizzlies are sitting at 10 right now. Like, I get it. Ja's fun, but like.
Yeah, the Spurs. I mean, the Spurs are probably like a 6, but I'm sure they're
7. So to your point, if that's how it ended right now, you'd have a Spurs Grizzlies play-in tournament. Like, I'm good.
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree on that. So let's get to talk some Phillies. I haven't done it in forever. It's
Me neither.
It feels like it's like a hibernation from baseball ever since we had to watch that bullpen last year. I just put it as far away from my brain as possible. But we're back. We made some moves this all season. I was fully ready to do like a boycott, not go to any games, not wear any jerseys. We didn't sign JT, DD, bring in relief pitching help, but we did all 3. Can't complain. You know, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But they really at least tried this year to put together a better team than they did last year, especially in the bullpen.
I completely agree. And when you look at this bullpen, I've said this on many occasions. Dude, if that bullpen in 2020 is not historically bad, like it literally was historically bad, they're a playoff team last year. They are.
Absolutely.
And then they come back, you know, they re-signed JT, they re-signed DD, to your point. So the lineup's still there, the bats are still there. You get a second year of Alec Boehm, you get a full year of him on the corner at third base. You know, they've tried to patch up the back end of the rotation. How that's going to play out, I don't know. I would have liked to see a third starter get solidified there. I know some people are high on Zach Eflin this year. I have to see it before I believe it. But when I look at this Phillies bullpen coming into the year, and I firmly believe this, and we'll have a lot of opinions throughout the show, but if this Phillies bullpen can just be like middle of the pack, or like the 20th best bullpen, something like that, I believe this is a playoff team. And now I get the NL East is extremely tough, and we've seen what the Mets have added, we've seen the Braves have added, and you know, with the Nationals rotation, but I firmly believe that this can be a playoff team if that bullpen is just a step up from last year. And when you look at the additions, you know, Dombrowski has kind of gone out, and he's gotten everything that Klentak didn't get before with arms in the bullpen. That is high velocity guys that, you know, the word I use, and some guys junk or stuff. I'm sorry. They got stuff, and they got high velocity. When you look at Alvarado and his movement on his four seam and the way he can elevate that and move his four seam around, Archie Bradley, Coonrod they've brought in. Who else am I missing? There's one
Kinsler.
Yeah.
Kinsler's a big one.
So, you know, and then you still have Hector Neris. You're hoping that can kind of bounce back. And, you know, you got to see what Connor Brogdon can be. You got to see what JoJo Romero can be. Vinny V, I can do without Vinny V, but who knows what he can be in the bullpen. So I believe that this bullpen is actually a lot better than it was last year. And it's spring training. I don't read at all into spring training. I got to see it in the regular season before I buy in. But I saw something out there that this Phillies bullpen was like top 3 in ERA in the spring.
Wow, I did see a couple of the guys they brought in. I know Kinsler's been doing well. I saw some sick pitches, like some pitching ninja pitches of Jose Alvarado. He's been unbelievable. Tony Watson's another guy they brought in who's closed games before.
Yes, that's who I was forgetting. Yes, Tony. Yep.
Yeah. So
he was one of the later additions.
Yeah. So again, they did everything we could have hoped for in terms of within reason. They did everything we could have hoped for in terms of bolstering the bullpen. And I said I gave him all the credit in the world for all the additions and keeping Didi, keeping JT, not selling Gene Segura for nothing just because he makes money. Not that I think he's some special player, but he's a starter. So they did everything they could. I was a little skeptical of the Dave Dombrowski hire originally because I have a good friend who's a Red Sox fan who I know Dombrowski did build a winner with the Red Sox, and I do believe they won the World Series with him there. But then he pretty much sold all future for the ability to do that, and a lot of them blame him for what ended up happening with Mookie Betts. So I do know that I did have a bit of trepidation with Dombrowski when they first brought him in. But again, it's been an off season, so only one so far. We haven't seen the results, but I'm quite positive on what he was able to do this off season. But the reason that there's a little bit of skepticism in terms of making the playoffs is because of what everyone else did.
Yes.
It's because Washington adding a closer like Brad Hand to a team that won the World Series 2 years ago and had a step back last year and still has one of the best young players in baseball in Juan Soto. Yeah. And so they still obviously have those guys. Atlanta's still Atlanta. They won the division, I believe, the last 2 years. They're going to be Atlanta for a long time because they signed Ronald Acuna and Ozzie Albies to like waiter money. Like they're making like $750 an hour. But Atlanta's going to be good for a really long time. And then a team that you can usually count on for being hapless and for screwing up whatever they can, the New York Mets. They have a new owner. They're run by new management. They brought in Lindor. They brought in McCann. They brought in Carrasco. I believe they brought in another bullpen guy I'm forgetting. But the Mets did a lot this offseason. So Vegas has us in 4th in the NL East. How do you feel about that?
So, when it comes to the Mets, I know there's a whole new regime in there, as you just alluded to. Francisco Lindor, I would have loved in red and white pinstripes. But I'll believe it when I see it when it comes to the New York Mets. Now, they could be the best team in the East. They could be the second best team in the East, and they could make some noise. Or the Mets could Met. So, I'll believe that when the regular season comes around. When it comes to the Phillies being 4th in Vegas, again, I get why. However, what I'll say to you, and I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback from this from people. I believe the Phillies are a lot closer to 1 or 2 in the East than they are 4 and 5, if that makes sense. I don't think they're going to win the East. I think they're a lot closer to 2nd place in the East. Then now are they still doing those rules where the top 2 make the?
No, so it's gonna be the top 5. It's gonna go back to how it was 2 years ago, where the first wild card plays the second wild card in a 1-game playoff.
Okay.
So that's gonna make it tough, and that's the reason that I am I'm nervous about our chances of making the playoffs is because I think Atlanta, just in my opinion, I think there's 4 lock playoff teams right now. And I think the Braves are pretty close to a lock just in terms of I don't see their weakness in terms of how they're going to take a step back, barring injuries or anything like that. I think they win the East. I think the Cardinals win the Central because the rest of the Central just seems to be not trying and selling anyone that they can besides the Brewers. So I think the Cardinals win the Central. And then you look at the West. The Dodgers and the Padres, one of them is going to win the division, and then one of them is winning the wild card. So there's one spot. And I think that's going to be determined by who comes in second in the East between the Nats, the Phillies, and the Mets. I agree with you. I think the New York Mets are going to be the New York Mets, as always, and I think that they're going to come in 4th in the division. I really think it's just going to be a war between us and Washington for that 5th spot.
I have a little more faith in people. Again, do I think the Phillies are going to win the NL East? No. I'll come out and say that right now before opening day hits. But I think they have a chance. And I think that's something that not a lot of people will say. I don't think anyone thinks they even have a chance to win this division. And I think that's wrong. And I think it's a little misguided because now I know I'm going back 2 years to the year for Bryce Harper's first season here. But you go back to the first couple months of that season, and this team's rolling, man. And they're beating up on the Braves early in the year. They're beating up on the Nationals. And then McCutchen goes down. The leader of the clubhouse kind of goes down. The pitching staff still wasn't any good. But this is pre-Zach Wheeler even being in the rotation. Bullpen's still kind of a mess. Not as bad as last year, but not a good bullpen, right? Reese Hoskins that goes through a major slump. Bryce hits a little bit of a slump. They bottom out there 2 years ago. Now, last year, weird season. COVID season, first year with Joe Girardi. You have Didi Gregorius. You have Alec Boehm come up. You have I'm drawing a blank on someone I wanted to throw out there. But anyway,
Spencer Howard came up pretty good at the end.
So then you kind of don't. You have the historically bad bullpen that misses you on a playoff last year. I think, like I said, it all comes down to the pitching staff. I think this offense is going to be a top 10 offense in the entire major leagues. I really do. And then it all depends if your bullpen can just be middle of the pack and if your top two can be aces. I know we focus a lot on the Matt Moores of the world, the Spencer Howards, the Chase Andersons, if they can contribute. I get all that. And they're going to have to contribute to an extent. But I need the top two. I need Aaron Nola to be Aaron Nola of 2017 when he was top 3 in the NL Cy Young race. I need Zach Wheeler to be what he was in the first half of last year. That's what I need.
Yeah,
and so then you have a chance.
Yeah, I agree. I wanted to talk about Zach Wheeler a little bit just because I feel like a lot of the time when you talk about the Phillies, it's always, Harper, JT, Nola. And then it kind of, Joe Girardi even comes up probably like fourth on people you think about just for the casual fan out there. I don't think Zach Wheeler gets enough credit for how good he was last year for most of the year. And
he was better than Aaron Nola.
Yeah, and how just rock solid he was and how he gets deep into games. And just imagine going into this year without Zach Wheeler. Like it would feel like we have no chance at competing to make the playoffs. But the fact that you have that second arm who you can lock in, or you can at least feel like you can lock in to give you top 2 arm production in terms of where they fit in a rotation. It's night and day from where we were 2 years ago.
Sure. Health is going to play a major role with him. I mean, Jesus, the end of last season, he gets his fingernail stuck in his jean zipper, and that affects him when we're trying to make a playoff push in Tampa Bay or in Tampa. So, health is going to always play a role with him. That's something else. This rotation is a little more deeper than it has been in the past. And again, when I talk about the Mets, I got to believe it to see it. The Phillies bullpen, I got to believe it to see it. I got to believe it. See it to believe it. I got to see it to believe it when it comes to Matt Moore, Chase Anderson, Spencer Howard. The knock on Spencer Howard is he can't get deep into games. Can he get to 6-7 innings?
Yeah, I guess my question about those 3 guys who do you have the most faith in out of those 3 guys to step up and be that 4th or 5th guy that we need going forward for the team?
I mean, you want it to be Spencer Howard.
Of course.
I just don't know if he's there yet.
I'm in the same boat.
I think it's more realistically Matt Moore. I think he had a hell of a spring. I think he had one rough outing in the spring, I'm pretty sure. But other than that, he was pretty solid. He had just over a 1 ERA in the games outside of that one, I believe. He was solid. Chase Anderson even was pretty solid. But I think, Girardi already announced you're locked into Nola, Wheeler, and Zach Eflin the first series against Atlanta, starting on April 1st. And then it's going to be a wait and see what happens. I think the biggest thing for me, though, Mark, is to have that 6th arm, whoever's the odd man out, to have that arm when it comes to injury to a Zach Wheeler or someone. Not that, say Chase Anderson's the odd man, he's the 6th man. Not that Chase Anderson can fill Zach Wheeler's shoes, but it's an arm you have right then and there to come up and perform and give you a chance to win. Not a guy you've been, having in the minors and you got to call him up and hope that, who's the one guy we have? Dos Santos. Remember how many times we've had to call him up when an injury happens? Like, there's no more of that right now for me. That's one thing I'm very happy about too. There's a little more depth with the starting 5. So you want it to be Spencer Howard. I think it's going to be Matt Moore.
So for me, I actually think the one that made me most excited, I guess, when I read the notification when they came across months ago was Chase Anderson.
Okay.
I just feel like Chase Anderson, he was terrible last year for Toronto. So I think that really killed any market he would have had. He did have like 4 straight years before that in Milwaukee where he was a legitimate number 3, number 4 pitcher for Milwaukee. So I just feel like he's only 33 years old. I don't think anything that really happened last year was injury related. He only had 7 starts. It could have just been he had a couple rough starts. He didn't come in healthy or whatever it was. It was a weird season. So I do just think I think Chase Anderson could surprise some people and maybe even be the 3rd guy over Eflin if Eflin isn't what everyone hopes he is, which I think I'm in the same boat as you a little bit with Eflin in terms of how confident I am he's that 3rd guy.
Just to throw this at you, we this entire first 21 minutes we've been talking about the arms, and I think that's where a lot of people's focus goes to, obviously, when it comes to this Phillies team. But can this lineup, can the bats, exceed or come up to expectations? And I think a guy that's going to be crucial in that happening is the guy who plays first base.
Of course.
What are your thoughts on Reese Hoskins this year, Mark? Just, as an overall cornerstone, I guess you could call it, for this Phillies team.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like he's always going to be that X factor because the way his hitting style, he's an on-base monster when he's hot. And when he's seeing the ball, he's able to get his pitches whenever he wants it. But I do think that there's sometimes where he gets a little too late. Not lazy, that's not even the right word. Whatever the opposite of aggressive is, I'm struggling to find the word. But he's just so waiting for that pitch sometimes that he gets the corners faded on him all the time because he thinks he has the best eye on the team, which he has a great eye. He was leading the league in walks last year and 2 years ago at certain points up. So he walks all the time. I mean, this last 2 years ago was his bad year, obviously. And he still had 29 homers. He still had 85 RBIs, but he was 226 and he was only 364 OBP. So OBP was up 384 last year. It's going to depend on, though. The OBP is going to be there. I'll take 364 in terms of OBP. I want to see that slugging percentage up to where it was the first year or the second year, about 496 or 618. It's absolutely ridiculous, obviously. But I want to see that slugging percentage up. I want to see him getting doubles. I want to see him hitting homers. And we'll get into it a little later. I have some player props, and I was pretty surprised at where Reese Hoskins were set. So we'll talk about that. So I guess I'll just run down a couple of the odds here. We are plus 875 to win the NL East. Which puts us in 4th. So that means you put 10 for the people who aren't gambling inclined out there. You put $10 on it, you'd win $87.50. So that's pretty steep value for a team that we both think improved a lot. Again, I know that it's about the fact that the other teams improved as well. Right. And the Braves kept Ozuna and everything like that. The Phillies are plus 1,800 to win the NL. That's $10 to win 180. They're plus 3,600 to win the World Series. Usually that makes sense. It's usually just ×2, whatever your conference is. And then the over-under is where I think the real value is. The over-under is 81.5. Up. Yeah, I agree. And I hate to be, the guy on a Phillies podcast wearing a Phillies jersey telling you that the Phillies are going to win a lot of games. But 81.5 is too low. I assume you agree with me on that one.
Absolutely. Look, can this team win 90 games? I'm not saying that. But, to think, what did they win 2 years ago? I don't know if you had those numbers up. Last year,
it's either 80 or 81, I thought.
Yeah, I can't talk about last year when you have the however many games, 60-game season or whatever they had last year.
They went 28-32, so really over like a full game season, that's 79-80 wins.
Okay.
Last year with the worst bullpen ever.
Exactly. And then it's not just that. It's the way Bryce Harper has looked and his swing has looked in the spring. It's another year of Joe Girardi. It's Alec Boehm. It's Didi back for a second year. And I know this all sounds corny, but, playing in an empty ballpark for 60 games compared to playing in front of 20,000 fans, that makes a difference, right? So to think that, I just think with this upgraded bullpen, you're at least 5 to 6 wins better than you were last year. Think how many blown games the Phillies had last year because of their bullpen. Think about that for a second. Or think about the back-end starters. If Matt Moore is your 5th option and he can just be, a 500 pitcher, that's adding value. So to think that they can't win more, it's at 81 or 81.5?
81.5 is where I saw it.
Yeah, I'm hammering the over. And again, that's not to say they're going to win 10 more games, 9 more games, but to think that they can't win, obviously they just need to go 1 over. But I think they'll be like an 85 to 87 win team.
Yeah, I had them at 86. Not to give anything away. Tomorrow, I think I'll be doing my MLB projections where I kind of go through the over-unders. But I had the Phillies at 86 exactly, and that was 1 win short of the playoffs when I was doing it. I hated to do it. I wanted to bump them up. I had the Nationals at 87. So it was tough for me. I tried to do it without looking at what I have on the other teams. And when I did the Phillies, I couldn't help but know that I had the Nationals at 87 right before I put them at 86.
Well,
but
I'll tell you how they get to that number, right, Mark, or how they can become a playoff team. And it's to go back to the guy we were just talking about, and Reese Hoskins. I think the perfect word you used for him is that X factor for this lineup. And can he be that guy, that kind of, aura of, remember when we first signed Bryce, and it happened in the first spring training game or whatever, Bryce 3, Reese 4, cleanup. And remember, even opening day, they walked Bryce and Reese hit a grand slam or whatever on opening day over left field fence against Atlanta when they smoked Atlanta, right? Yep. Can he provide that, or can that aura come back? Also, it all depends on Girardi too. Like I don't like JT in the 2-hole. I don't like Reese in the 2-hole. I don't like Bryce in the 2-hole.
What do you think of Bone there?
That's interesting.
I was thinking about that today. I saw someone tweeting about the 2-hole, literally, and not liking Bryce or JT there. I think Bone could be interesting in the 2-hole.
Dude's just a professional hitter. They're just a guy that it all depends how hot this guy is. But Gene Segura, when I just think 2-hole, I think Gene Segura. But that again, that depends if Gene Segura can be a walk-in spray chart. If that's the Gene Segura you get, he's a perfect 2-hole hitter. Okay, but if he's cold, I completely agree. I think Bone's there. My ideal lineup is Kutch is leading off, and then it's, if you want to throw Segura, Bone, right? I'm just going to say Segura for now. Segura, Harper, Hoskins, JT, probably Didi and Boehm back to back right there. However order you want to put it. Think about how deep that is, though, Mark. Or Segura is back at 7 if Boehm's in the 2-hole. That is a deep ass lineup. Now they clearly have to figure out center field. Let's throw this out there also. Shitty person, right? He's probably going to be starting. He's probably going to start in center field.
Yeah, and he should.
From a baseball standpoint, he should start. I'm not talking about the other stuff. I don't want to talk about the other stuff. You don't want to give.
Neither do I.
Yeah, so just from a baseball standpoint, from this spring, he should start. He's the best bat over Quinn and Hazley. Imagine if he's giving you Odubel Herrera from 2016 or 2017 or whatever year it was when he was an all-star. Imagine that now. That's another thing you have to think about. If Odubel's, bat flipping every 3 games or something, and he's your 8-hole hitter.
Yeah. I have some hope that Mickey Moniak's going to get there.
He's looked great too. You still have Bamboo Brad. I'll tell you who's looked really good from a spring training perspective. Matt Joyce has looked he was looking really good early in spring training. I think he probably makes the roster as well.
Yeah, he has been. He hit a bomb the first or second day of spring training. Yeah. Absolutely crazy. And then to finish off those odds, to make the playoffs, they are plus 200 right now, the Phillies. So you can double your money if they make the playoffs. So that's interesting to me. That actually might even be a little more interesting than 81.5. But I think 81.5 is more of a lock. But plus 200, obviously, you're getting value there. So let's talk about some MVP and Cy Young value, because I think that there actually could be some here. I want to talk about my guy, Bryce Harper. I got him on I always do the wrong side. Got him on my jersey right here. I do think Bryce Harper's loved by the Philadelphia fan base, obviously. I think we all love him. I think the smart fans realize how good he's been, even if it hasn't translated to success in terms of making the postseason. I think this year could be the year that if you're right and we break through the playoffs, that he becomes that Joel Embiid level guy in the city of Philadelphia. I know it feels like the Phillies have fallen a little bit to that third team in Philly, and even when the Flyers get hot, sometimes it feels like the Flyers are a bit more important. But I think that if the Phillies, they missed the playoffs for 10, 11 straight years now. If we can get back to that being that team that's at least competing for the playoffs really closely with some of these really good teams. I think Bryce Harper is going to be that player that the city can rally around. And if he puts up even like slightly better numbers than he did last year on a team that's in the playoffs, he's going to be considered for MVP talks. I mean, I don't think it's talked about enough how good he was last year or the year before that.
Yeah, I don't think it's been talked enough at all how great he's been, and he's lived up to every penny on that contract since he's been here. And I remember when he went through one of those slumps and people were questioning the money and everything. Come on, dude. Or because his average was down the first year, but he still hit like 30 plus home runs, 100 plus 110 RBIs, a career high, like walked over 100 times, like missed me with all that. But I completely agree. And I think all of these, as corny as it sounds, because we're talking about gambling and, player props and all that stuff, I think, those odds, and if Bryce can be that caliber of a player, all kind of balls this all up into one if this Phillies team is a playoff team. So someone made a great point. I forget who it was. I heard it a while ago. It's someone, they were talking about like adding JT and bringing D back, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's great." And it wasn't a knock at Bryce Harper saying he hasn't performed well, but it's saying, we keep adding all this around him. How Bryce, how about you go win an MVP, or you be in the MVP race? You know what I mean? Like not like threatening him like you haven't lived up to anything, but like if you can get to that level of Bryce Harper, this team's level even goes up. So I completely agree. I love that value. I also want to know, what are his home run numbers at? Do you know?
Yeah, so his over-under for home runs is 36.5. 36.5. 2 years ago, he was at 35. 35 and 34 the year before in Washington.
I'm telling you, he's going over.
Yeah,
I'll tell you
like
what,
that.
I think Bryce Harper hits 40-plus home runs this year.
I
really
that.
do. You can't pitch around him in this lineup. You can't avoid him. He's got, at times he doesn't have great plate discipline, but a lot of times he does. Sees the ball, especially when he's seeing the ball well. The swing looks different this spring. There's a lot less, I'm trying to tear the cover off the ball swing. He's just getting his shoulders squared, turning his hips. And, dude, he's blasting the baseball. Have you seen some of the numbers on the tweets of the velocity, the exit velocity he's hitting with? It's insane, dude. And some of the home runs he's hit this year, they're moonshots.
There's nothing like home run videos, especially when you haven't seen baseball in a while. And there's nothing like hearing that crack of the bat. And no one makes that noise like Bryce Harper. It's just when he hits the ball, it looks like it's taken out of a rocket.
And the best part about his swing and the way he can, get balls over the fence is he doesn't have to pull. Dude, his oppo power is ridiculous. I've seen him hit a ball to like the porch in left center at Citizens Bank Park. You know how far that is?
That's Ryan Howard territory.
Yes, dude. Yes. So I think he hits over 40. If he does, I'll tell you what. And again, I keep saying it. Those go hand in hand to me. If he's hitting that over 36 and he's at that 40 number, I think that translates to MVP type numbers and MVP race. And I think those two things translate to Phillies being successful. So,
yeah, no, I think the door is wide open for Bryce Harper to win an MVP. He's won one before. Plus 1,500, I think, is great odds. 36.5 home runs. I think he goes over that. But the one that I might be most interested in is over 105 RBIs. 2 years ago, he was at 114.
Yeah.
That I don't know what I don't have my handy calculator here, but in 58 games he had 33 RBIs. I don't know what that would project to exactly, but I'm trying to do some quick math in my head. It's like it's probably in like the upper 90s.
Yeah, it would be close to 100.
Yeah, I think especially if you're confident that he'll go over that 36.5 home runs mark, I think over 105 RBIs would be a breeze.
I'm going to have so many Bryce Harper futures.
Yeah, me too.
Category.
No, I'm in the same boat. And then another guy, you guys might know him, JT Realmuto.
Yeah, you might know of him.
He plays catcher for the Phillies. He's plus 5,000 for MVP. I don't think JT's winning MVP or anything, but I just thought I'd throw it out there. But let's do his over-unders here. Over-under 22.5 home runs and over-under 75.5 RBIs. Let's pull up his stats from 2 years ago. 2 years ago, he had 25 home runs and he had 83 RBIs. He had 32 RBIs this year in 47 games. So what do you think about those numbers? 22.5 homers, 75.5 RBIs.
Again, I like both to go over, but I like the RBI number more.
Me too.
I'm confident in the home run over, but I love the RBI. I think in a full season this year, especially, and I think these guys with JT coming back and Bryce and being leaders on this team, they're not happy about last year. They're not happy about the year before. And, they're going to carry the weight of this offense. The offense is only going to go as far as these two take them. I think JT could realistically get close in that low 90 number for RBIs this season.
Yeah, no, I think that would only, that would only help Bryce Harper in terms of his MVP candidacy, because he'll hopefully be behind him, driving him home, or in front of him, scoring runs for Bryce Harper. So I think JT and Reese, and like we were talking about earlier with Reese, and that's the next guy I'm going to get to here. Like we were talking about earlier with Reese, him being the X factor. If Reese, we know JT is JT. He's going to do what JT's going to do. He's been pretty consistent over his career, even dating back to Miami. If Reese can be that guy from a few years ago, that just provides so much protection. You're not going to be able to be pitching around Bryce Harper. Like, you're not going to be able.
That's that aura I was talking about.
Exactly.
And again, it all comes down to if Joe fixes the lineup that way, but that's how I like it. And if Reese provides that aura behind Bryce, you're not pitching around either one.
Yeah, and Reese Hoskins is projected. I thought these seemed a little high. I know we've been saying over on everything so far, and we've been the positive Peter or whatever you want to call it. But for Reese Hoskins, over under 33.5 home runs and over under 90.5 runs, over under 90.5 RBIs. I thought those were extremely high numbers. You look at last year, he had 10 home runs in 41 games, which is actually a pretty high home run percentage. It's actually pretty high. But the year before, that's probably why this is so high. The year before, he was 29 home runs in 160
He would hit
games.
around 40 in a 162 game season.
Yeah. I guess I'm understanding why the number is where it's at now. I saw that 10 home runs number initially and didn't see the 41 games.
Yeah.
29 homers the year before, 34 homers 3 years ago, which is obviously where we've all want him to be, where he was at in 2018. So I guess now that I'm saying it, maybe I'm not quite as negative on his ability to go over these numbers.
What were his RBIs set at?
His runs and RBIs were both at 90.5.
Yeah, that's the number I like under.
Yeah, runs for sure. That's high.
I kind of
yeah.
And the RBIs I like under too. I'm not saying by a lot. I'm not saying Reese only gonna have like 60 some RBIs, but like 85 RBIs. And like I don't think he gets into the 90s for RBIs. Especially we're sitting here talking about JT's gonna have this, Bryce is gonna have this. You're gonna hope DD has this. Boom, everyone. Well, how many runs is this team gonna score? You know what I mean?
Exactly,
like not everyone. You're not gonna have three. I highly doubt the Phillies would have three guys hitting around 100 RBIs.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I agree. I think it's too high. 33.5 homers even feels too high to me. I do know that.
Yeah.
I saw those numbers. Now I'm not quite as. And
it's so funny, isn't it? Because we keep calling him the X factor, and you would hope if he's the X factor, those numbers go over to translate to success, but they're just a little too high.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
There'd be nothing wrong with Reese hitting 30 home runs this year.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. He hits 34 home runs, and he has 91 RBIs, 91 runs. We're going to the fucking playoffs. I don't drop too many F-bombs on here, but we're going to the playoffs if Reese Hoskins does that, and if JT and Bryce come close to these numbers or go over. I don't care what the arms do. If we're getting that much production out of those three guys, we're going to the playoffs.
Now I have a question for you. Do you have Alec Boehm's RBIs number over under?
They didn't have that. They didn't have any player props for Boehm. I couldn't find that. Yeah, I couldn't find that, but I do have a couple pitcher player props here.
Okay.
So Aaron Nola is plus 1,200 to win the Cy Young, and Zach Wheeler is plus 4,000 to win the Cy Young. I wouldn't take a bet on either of that necessarily, just because if it was the AL, I actually would. You take a look at the AL Cy Young race, it's not a lot of huge names at the top. You look at the NL, you got Bauer, you got Scherzer, you got DeGrom, you got Walker Buehler. There's so many guys that have competed for NL Cy Youngs in the last couple of years. I feel like I'm forgetting a huge one. That's
Kershaw.
That's my head. Kershaw, Jack Flaherty. There's so many guys. Strauss, yeah, he's hurt. I don't know.
Oh, is he?
I don't know his update. He actually could be fine for opening day. I do know he was hurt last year, some of his arm. But there's so many guys in the NL that can step up and be that, that top. Oh, even I forgot the Padres guys, Blake Snell and Yu Darvish.
Yeah.
There's so many pitchers.
Their
in the
rotation's
NL,
disgusting, dude.
Dodgers and Padres. They're the two best teams in baseball.
I'll tell you what. The Padres with Tatis, they're so fun to watch. They're great for the sport, dude. I had this conversation with a friend on the radio during the playoffs. They are great for baseball, and they need to be more on primetime television on ESPN and stuff like that, because more young kid they're great for the sport. They're going to drive up views, I believe. Like, put those guys more on national television.
Yeah, Fernando Tatis, Ronald Acuna, and I hate to say these two names because they're in our division. We have to play them all the time. But Ronald Acuna and Juan Soto, all three of those guys are absolutely so fun to watch. They're what baseball is about, and they're what they should be marketing to the young fans.
Right.
It's a shame. It's ridiculous that if Mike Trout walked into a mall in Los Angeles, he'd probably have 4 people recognize him. I remember a couple of years ago, I heard that his Q score was lower than Kenneth Faried. So that basically means more people know who Kenneth Faried is than Mike Trout a couple of years ago. But I just think that you're absolutely right. I didn't even think we were going to go on a baseball rant about what baseball needs to do. Yeah. But the Padres need to be on prime time as much as possible. So do the Braves, so do the Nationals. These players that are young and just so fun and different. And Juan Soto, I think he plays a little cocky. He's a little obnoxious. Yeah. I think that's good.
What I will say for the sport, what I will say before we get back to the Phillies pitchers and their Cy Young odds, what I will say is stop trying to change baseball for people that don't like baseball to try to like it. Stop doing that. The little tweaks, like if you want to speed the game up a little bit, that's fine. But like stop trying to make people that don't like it. For people to like baseball that don't like it, like I just said, show them that stuff. Should put Fernando Tatis versus the Dodgers on ESPN at 8:00 on a Saturday or whatever, stuff like that. That's how you'll get more views and for younger people to start to like the game. That's how you do that. Okay.
And here's a couple other things in that. How about you? This is no free ads, but Intentional Talk on MLB Network is a show I used to watch all the time. Watch religiously with Kevin Millar and Chris Rose. Chris Rose got fired from the MLB Network. That show was one of the best things that showed camaraderie in the dugouts, and the interviews with the players that they had every day were fantastic. And that's the kind of stuff that baseball should be marketing, because it's the only sport that's 162 games with the camaraderie of a team that travels the whole season. Like they have to market that kind of stuff, and you can't fire someone like that. And then also MLB should be included on every cable package. The MLB Network should be available to everybody.
Yeah. And one thing that will drive views, I believe, and then at least I like it. Some people don't like. I get when some people don't like when they're talking to the managers while like an at bat's going on and the manager's in the dugout. The one thing I do like ESPN does it every game, is when they mic up like they mic'd up Justin Turner in the playoffs last year. They'll mic up Bryce Harper when he's out, and like that's interesting to me. And then you hear their reactions live. I remember I was watching a spring training game not too long ago, and I forget what team it was, but it's the Rays, and it was their center fielder. And he's messing with the left fielder, and they're going back and forth and having a dance bat, and he's talking shit to him. It was fun. It was that. So that's all good stuff. But just changing the rules, some of the speed stuff, that's not going to people like it anymore. People that think baseball is boring or too slow, that stuff's not going to change their opinion.
Yeah, I think a lot of the problems with baseball, yeah, exactly. There's people that are just not going to watch baseball, and that's fine. You don't have to fix that. The problems that you need to fix is how to distribute the game better and how to get it in the hands of younger people primarily, and people of color, and people, not just the same people you're promoting every game to, which is 60 and above old white men. But you need to get every highlight on Twitter right away, like the NBA does and like the NFL does. And the same thing could be said about golf, by the way. Golf, I'm not a golf fan. Anytime I've ever watched golf with my friends, I think it's boring. But then when they mic up the guys, I remember they had Tiger and Peyton Manning play Tom Brady, and they mic up the guys. You hear him Charles Barkley. You hear him joking. You hear him going back and forth. That's the kind of stuff that people are going to come back in and tune in for. And that's what made viral moments with Peyton Manning making fun of Tom Brady for Nick Foles.
NHL, for Christ's sake, just got brought back to ESPN.
Yeah,
that's huge for the NHL.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, it is. And I'm not a hockey guy either, but there's ways to get to improve the sport's reach and ways to get more people into it without changing the entire basis of the game.
I'll tell you what
and the rules of
baseball's
the game.
dynamic has always been. Baseball's dynamic has always been like you said, the 60. I'll say a little younger than 60, 50, 40 and up. And then I guess they just think that every 40 and up white dad or father is going to take their kid to the game, to the ballpark. They're going to fall in love with the game. It doesn't work like that anymore. You got to find a new way to reach it.
This comment, I could not agree with more. I think they also need to start streaming every spring training game, even if it's just a field camp. By the way, I don't watch spring training. I'm not someone who gets jazzed up to watch spring training. But the first spring training game of the year, and it's not on NBC Sports Philadelphia or NBC Sports Philadelphia Plus, maybe I even would have watched that game. Every game should be available. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I agree.
It's just baseball needs to get with the times in terms of just reach and distribution more than actually changing the rules. We're completely on the same path there. But getting back to the pitchers.
Yeah. I wouldn't throw a dime on Zach Wheeler. I'm very high on Zach Wheeler as you are. He's the number 2 in this rotation. And unless you're like Walker Buehler behind Clayton Kershaw or something like that, you're not going to be in that mix for a Cy Young. At least I don't think. Aaron Nola if Aaron Nola can pitch like he did against the Yankees last night, sure, Aaron Nola is going to be in the Cy Young running. But I probably agree with you that I wouldn't throw too much money on either one of those guys to bring home a Cy Young. Again, though, if Aaron Nola's in that running, I think all these awards, as corny as it sounds, we're talking about gambling player props. If some of these awards are translating to Phillies players, that's going to translate to Phillies success.
Absolutely. And I guess, so the last thing here is wins for a couple of the guys. So we'll start it out with Aaron Nola. His over-under is 13.5 wins. I'm getting to the pitching stats right here. I want to see where he was at last year and the years before. He had 5 wins last year in 12 starts. So that's a pretty good percentage right there. But 12 wins the year before, 17 the year before, and 12 the year before that.
Yeah, so that's the Cy Young year.
13.5 is probably a fair. It's probably a fair in terms of it's probably a fair line to be set.
Yeah.
But if we're as high as the Phillies as we are,
I gotta go.
Exactly, and like you just said, in terms of it's corny. We're talking about gambling lines, but it'll translate to success. This might be the most it's wins. It's winning baseball games. It's a pitcher going deep enough and leaving a game with a win, and the bullpen taking care of it and not blowing it. So that is like the most translatable success. If Aaron Nola gets above 13.5 wins, and the next one is Zach Wheeler over under 11.5 wins. If those both happen, I'm feeling really good, even if the back 3 on the rotation aren't as solid as we hope.
I agree. And, it's going to translate to how they're pitching as well. But like you said, can the bullpen hold it? We talk highly of this Phillies offense. Well, what if they don't, bring their A game one night, but the Phillies drop 12 runs on somebody and they leave the game? They even give up 6 runs in 6 innings, but they have such a big lead, it doesn't matter. So if all those things can correlate and the bullpen's not blowing late game leads when Nola leaves one in the 6th or 7th, I think both of those numbers will go over as well. So I agree with you.
Yeah. And then the one that I would have a little pause here. Zach Eflin is over under 10.5 wins. I can't believe they had Zach Eflin stats and not Alec Boehm or Didi Gregorius, but where is Eflin? Is he? Yeah, there he is. He's pitching.
I just can't buy it, dude. I can't buy it until I see it for a long stretch of time. And it's not even. I don't care about his first 3 starts. Obviously, I want him to come out and perform well his first 3 starts, but I need to see deeper than that. I've seen Zach Eflin go streaky for a couple starts in a row, and string together a couple beautiful performances, and then he falls back down to earth a little bit for me. I know he's expecting a baby. And people were on Twitter. Him and his wife, fiance or wife or whatever posted it. People were like, "Oh, Cy Young performance," and who the hell knows? Maybe that gives him something or a little bit more. But it's funny, man. He's kind of. I know Vinny's still on the team, but he's kind of out of the rotation talk. I hope permanently. But the three pitchers I continue to link together were Nick Pivetta, Zach Eflin, and Vince Velasquez. And Zach Eflin's kind of the last remaining one in this rotation. A lot of people have faith in him. I need to see it. Now, if he can get over that 10.5, that's gigantic for this team. I just don't know if it'll happen.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he'll probably be around 8-9 wins. But I didn't realize he was sub 4 ERA last year. Now numbers can lie sometimes. Like you said, he's probably strung together. I can't remember exactly. I'd have to look at the game logs, but I'm pretty sure he did have like a month or so where he was dealing, and that really impacted that ERA. I wonder if he took out that month, what it would be. But yeah, I think Eflin is streaky. That does seem to be the biggest problem. So I guess before we get out of here, maybe you give us your NL East prediction and what you think about the Phillies this year in terms of playoffs, no playoffs, how many wins. What are you thinking?
All right. I'm going to say that Atlanta wins the NL East. I think they're just too much. I really do. And again, dude, long season injuries play a factor. If Acuna goes down or Freeman goes down or whatever, then that's going to affect it. But just fully healthy is what I have to take it for. I'm going to go Atlanta 1. I've been high on them for 51 minutes now. I'm not going to back down. I'm going Phillies 2, and they're fighting for a wild card, that second wild card, because I agree with you. The Padres or Dodgers is going to take the first one. I'm going to reverse 3 and 4 that you have it. I think the Mets, I think they still kind of met, but I think they're better than, previous Mets memory. So I think the Mets come in 3rd. I think the Nats come in 4th, and the Marlins was a flash in the pan last year in a shortened season. They come back down to earth, and they're in the basement of the NL East.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm going Braves 1, Nationals 2, Phillies 3, and then the Mets in 4th. But I actually have a little bit of a gap between the Phillies and Mets, probably 3 or 4 games. So I think I had the Mets down at 83-ish wins, and I had the Nationals at 87, Phillies at 86, Braves in the mid-90s. And I believe the Marlins should be in the low 70s, high 60s. They really should drop off the face of the earth. I think that it was a fluke, a flash in the pan, kind of like the Miami Heat in the bubble. I think Miami had a lot of post-COVID luck going on down there. But
I agree.
I think the Marlins take a big step back. I do think that they have a bright future in terms of guys that they have. But
the city of Florida, throughout this whole COVID mess, I know everyone messes with them because they acted like COVID hasn't never been a thing down there. But just you mentioned Miami,
Tampa.
the Heat, and then you look at Tampa, the Rays in the World Series, the Lightning win the NHL Stanley Cup. I mean, the city, the state of Florida had some damn good postseason run. Tampa Bay, the Bucks just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and they've had some damn good COVID luck.
And now they're getting WrestleMania in a month. I mean, that's the biggest news on it. No, I'm just messing around. So yeah, you have the Phillies making the playoffs, making that 5th wild card spot. I'm by the end of the week, I'll probably change my tune and switch in with the Nationals. I hope so. But so those are our Phillies expectations for the year. I'm sure we'll be talking Phillies all year, whether that be with me guesting on the Daily Dose or Dylan coming over here.
I'll tell you what, Mark, quick plug at the end here. Me and Mike Small here at the TPL have a Phillies podcast once a week called Spitballin', which will be debuting next Wednesday, I believe. So whenever you want to come on there as well, the Daily Dose,
awesome.
And talk with me and Mike, you can definitely do that. That is strictly Phillies and MLB talk.
Yeah, anytime I can avoid Matt McGinty on one of your shows is what I want to do. No, I'm joking. I love Matt McGinty. He's a childhood friend. We're excited for the Phillies season. It's going to be crazy in a little bit when we're in full draft swing for the Eagles for the NFL draft. We're in full opening day mode for the Phillies. The Sixers are pushing towards the playoffs. Villanova's going to the Final Four. It's going to be if the Flyers play hockey, I think. They play on ice with sticks and pucks, but so there's going to be a lot of Philadelphia sports going on. The Painted Lines is going to be buzzing, and like I said earlier, I'm going to play this one more time for the people who joined late. To go access a lot of the lines that we talked about and to bet on some baseball going forward. Our sponsors, XL Media, have a word for you.
Hey, what's up, guys? March Madness is here. The NBA and NHL are both in full swing. Baseball opening day is coming up, while we here at the Painted Lines are devoted to bringing you top-notch content from all the major sports. We are excited to also now give you the opportunity to cash in on all that content and knowledge. If you follow the link below, you will have the opportunity to sign up with BetRivers, an online sportsbook, and get an instant new user deposit match of up to $250. That's free money that you can use and try to turn into more free money. Let's go. Don't sit there and waste all that money. Turn every basket into an otherwise meaningless Cavs-Timberwolves matchup in on a random Wednesday in March. That makes it all the more exciting. For betting tips and advice, be sure to check out written content from our top prognosticator, Money Max, on our website at thepaintedlines.com, or check out the Tough Cover podcast right here on the Painted Lines YouTube channel. You've seen the commercials all over TV and radio, but now is the time. Sign up today with BetRivers using the link below and start cashing in on your love for sports. Using the link below will automatically inform BetRivers that TPL sent you, and you'll get that new user deposit match of up to $250. Don't miss out on this opportunity for some free money, baby.
Everyone go check that out. Link in the description below, and go to the link and let BetRivers know that the Painted Lines sent you. Before we get out of here, I know Dylan's got something he should plug for Thursday night for his podcast, and then also let him know where to follow you at.
Yeah, man, you guys can follow me right here on the ad name that you're seeing on my screen, at DylanJD98 on Twitter. You can follow one of my podcasts on Twitter, at FaithfulFans2. But on Thursday night for the Daily Dose, a very special edition, Tyrone Johnson of 97.5 The Fanatic and Sixers Outsiders on NBC Sports Philadelphia will be joining me on the Daily Dose at 7:30 Thursday night. That is also March 25th, NBA trade deadline. So hopefully a lot of fun stuff to break down with Tyrone. So come hang out with us that night. Comment along with us. Ask Tyrone any questions. Be respectful. And it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Tyrone's the man. I can't wait for that. So everyone, go check that out, please. I'll drop my picks right here real quick. Wizards plus 2.5 at the New York Knicks. New York Knicks first half team total under 57.5. That's my lock of the night. It's for 3.5 units. Wizards plus 2.5 is for 2 units. And then marquee late night, marquee parlays. I lost my spot there. My bad. Marquee late night with a marquee late night parlay. Blazers, Sixers, money line parlay at plus 162. Those are both at 10 o'clock. So thank you for joining us. The rest of the week, we'll be doing MLB previews later on this week. I think on Friday at 5, I'll be having my buddy Alex Carr from The Good Fight at Alex Carr MLB. So everyone go give him a follow and let him know that you're excited for the Tough Cover podcast on Friday. We're buddies, so I'm excited to have him on and talk some Phillies. So everybody, thanks for joining and enjoy opening day.